So tonight I'm going to talk about an article that I found on the website Snow in Berlin. Actually, I was reading about Laughingstock and I found this article, and actually it's the title which attracted my attention. The title is Silencing the Scams, and I think that it has been written by Steve Sutherland, I suppose, because they say in the article that Mark Hollis is explaining stuff to this Steve Sutherland, or Sutherland, I don't know how we say. So it was made in 1991, September 7th, more exactly. So the title attracted my attention because I was wondering what they were talking about. Of course, silences the scams, which scams, and of course they are talking about the problem of an album which has been released by EMI without the authorization of Mark Hollis. History Revisited, that you won't find now because it has been removed. I'm going to go through the article. I can't read everything because it's a very long article, and if I start talking about everything the video is going to last too long. But I'm going to talk only about what I found the most interesting and relevant for my video. I just want to read a few parts of this article and maybe give you my feelings about that, what I think, if it does interest you, because it's very rare to see such an integrity, especially in this kind of work. I mean, in the show business, in the music industry, it's very rare to see an artist with such a sincerity and putting so much heart and feelings in his work. I made many videos about that before, and I will probably do more again later. But this article especially was showing a lot, the writer, the journalist, actually I liked the way he wrote that. It's showing a lot something which touched me, especially the fact that you will see Mark Hollis is choosing the people he's working with according to their attitude and if he likes them. I find that so touching, charming, wonderful. I would like that more people like that exist, and it reconciles me with the world because I thought that I was the only one to be a little like that, and I'm not sure that I have such an integrity as Mark Hollis has. For me, integrity is very important, but I unfortunately don't have the luxury that Mark Hollis can have. But anyway, I'm very glad that I read that, because somehow it's comforting for me. I think I'm not totally alone. I'm not a saint. It's just that for me the feelings, the heart, the sincerity, the honesty are values which are very important to me, so I'm glad to read things like that. And of course I will like to have your opinion on the subject. Okay, so I'm going to read for you what he said. He said, "A compilation album is not my idea of an album," says Hollis today. "I don't like compilation albums. I didn't like that one. It certainly wasn't the selection of tracks I would have liked, even if there had to be one. But at the end of the day, they had every right to do it so." So here he's only talking about natural history, which is a compilation, an album that I have. This album is okay. It's a compilation, you know. I'm not a big fan of compilations anyway myself, but I can understand that the records companies do that. I suppose it's for people who can't really buy all the CDs, all the albums, because maybe they don't have the money, or maybe they didn't know the artist. And a compilation allows these people to have a lot of famous songs on the same album, and it's a way to discover an artist, I suppose. So Natural History is chiefly an album that actually I rebought it a second time because I wanted to have the DVD with all the video clips. It's mainly what I wanted, but the album itself, I wouldn't say that it's what I prefer. It's not what I prefer because anyway all the songs on it, I already had them on other albums. I would say if I had to recommend a Talk Talk album, it would certainly not be the one that I would recommend. In compilation, actually, I really prefer E-sides, B-sides, which is a kind of compilation, but not exactly. Anyway, that's not the subject. We don't care much about natural history. So then it's written. What really disgusted him is History Revisited. The album of Talk Talk remixed by the like of Julian Mendelssohn and Gary Miller that EMI released after the company had looked into discovering that if they walked a dance beat under some of the band's finest early moments, the public could be duped we say, into thinking they were buying something new and très chic. To Hollis, a man for whom integrity is the very root and sole reason for making music, this was tantamount to artistic rape. He felt defiled, frustrated, furious, and unclean. The way you feel if you've ever been unfortunate enough to return home to find you've not only been burgled and your most intimate possessions abused, but that the burglar have wantonly smeared shit on the walls. We're gonna take them to court over this remixed thing, Hollis says, and believe me, he's near to tears. To me, it's unbelievable they could do that, to have people overdubbing stuff you've done and putting it out. The sentence evaporates in exasperation. It's the complete antithesis of the Talk Talk ethos. Everything is worked for is being murdered, mocked for greed. That is very strong words. I've never heard any of this stuff and I don't want to hear it, but to have people putting this stuff out under your name, which is not you, you know, I want no part of it. It's always been very important to me that I've got on with the people we've worked with. People's attitude has always been really important to me. So much of why someone would exist on one of our albums is what they are like as a person. So to find you've got people you've never give the time of day to going out as though it's you, it's disgusting. So I really like the fact that he chooses the people he works with, and according to their attitude, the way they are, it's the way he decides if a person can work with him on his albums or not. I think that is wonderful. It's so rare to find people like that. Though I was talking with someone today who was telling me that actually employers often are going to hire someone who is easier to get along with rather than someone else who will be maybe more competent, more appropriate for the job, but who is going to be a pain in the... You imagine what I mean. So I don't know. It seems to me that it is very rare to find artists who think of the attitude and the kind of connection with people to work with rather than according to the skills, the qualification. I really like that. What I don't like at all as Marcolis is the history revisited. I'm ashamed to say that I have it, and not because I bought it. Someone gave it to me a very long time ago. Such a long time ago that I can't even remember who gave it to me and when and where. I found that by unpacking some stuff here, and I was like, I can't even remember this album. So I suppose that I listened to it when it has been given to me, and obviously I didn't like it because I didn't listen to it again. And once I knew the problem with this album, of course I wanted to listen to it again, not because I was sure that I was going to discover something wonderful, but I thought if it's some crap, I want to know what kind of crap it is. And I can't tell you what kind of crap it is because I started listening to it and I got bored so quickly that I didn't listen to all, and I didn't appreciate it, and I really can't understand how a company can do that, because it's not only doing a compilation, it's not only someone else, other people doing remixes. It happened before, but what is incredible is that they didn't even ask Marcolis if he was okay with it. That is what shocks me the most, because after all, it's his music or his band's music. We are supposed to ask the authors of the music before doing something like that. So I think that that is what shocks me the most, and I think he was right to sue the company, and good for him that it has been removed. And when it's written everything he's worked to is being murdered, mocked for greed, I quite understand what it means, because Marcolis takes a lot of time to choose the songs, to compose, to write the lyrics, to do the arrangements. He was mostly working with Team Friese-Greene, who was chosen very carefully. He takes a lot of time to choose the musicians. Once everything is recorded, he removes and removes to keep only the most important, the best notes, only what is necessary. Then the company does something like that. It's like, I would say it's like an elephant coming in a store selling porcelains, you know. It's like it breaks everything. It goes into the opposite direction of what the band wanted to do. I recommend that if you have this album, throw it away or burn it. I don't know. It's not some talk. It's something else which is not especially good, according to me. That's my opinion. And anyway, if you are fans of Marcolis and Talk, know that they don't agree with this album. I'm glad to be able to say it in a video, because I saw a lot of fans, Talk fans, talking about this album. So then in the article they are talking about the interviews, the fact that Marcolis doesn't like so much, he doesn't like to give interviews in general. So the journalist is saying, it's not that he's impolite or even that he begrudges intrusion, it's just that he's chronically ill at ease with the investigative process. So, wow, if it's the case, I don't know if Marcolis is watching my videos, but if it's the case, he must hate me and he must hate my videos, because I have the feeling that I behave like someone who investigates. Sometimes I have the feeling to be a Sherlock Holmes in woman. Not that I want to know private things about him, it's not that, it's more about the music and the creative process. I have a lot of questions in mind, so um, I'm talking and talking and talking about that, and suddenly I realized that maybe he doesn't like that at all. Um, but you know, I'm doing that for my work, for my paintings, to not to write articles about Tok Tok or Mark Hollis. That's not the point. It's more to see the link between the music and the painting, and to understand why his music has this particular thing. So it's more for my work. It's maybe a very selfish quest. The only not selfish thing is that I talk about that online on YouTube, because I think that maybe it can interest people, which is the case obviously, as people are watching my videos, so it means that it may be interesting for someone. But well, that is tricky. Marcolis says, I do this to be reasonable. He's speaking about interview, he explains. But I don't see that doing an interview does anything but detract from the album. I mean, the album was a year of me being as succinct as I can possibly be, and me talking about it can only detract from that. Hollis fears that words over-embroider his work, and that the more we say, the further we stray from the new album's purity of intention. The last thing I would ever want to do is intellectualize music, because that's never been what it's about for me, he says. Nothing has changed from the ethic of the last album, and I would never want to change, because I can't see any way of improving upon that process. As before, silence is the most important thing you have. One note is better than two. Spirit is everything, and technique, although it has a degree of importance, is always secondary. So it's funny, because just before I started shooting this video, someone on YouTube sent me a message saying why an artist has always to explain his work or her work. Maybe the work speaks for itself. And it's exactly what Mark Hollis is saying. And it's exactly what a lot of composers, musicians say, actually. It's not the first time that I hear that. It's true that the work should speak for itself. I like talking about my paintings. I like explaining about them. Maybe because I'm afraid that people don't understand what I put in them. Maybe. And I don't want them to understand something else that's what I meant. On the other hand, if someone is looking at my paintings and wants to imagine something else, after all, this person is free to do so. It's just that people may not understand exactly a music as they should. And of course, him talking about his music is a way to recenter the attention to where we are supposed to go. It's a way to define the work. It's maybe a way to say what is the intention put in the work. I don't think that there is a right solution. Some artists don't want to speak about that. Other artists feel the need to speak a lot about their work. I would say that it's up to the artist to decide. But it's true that from a listener or a viewer point of view, I think that the audience wants to know more about a work. I think that's my opinion. What do you think about it? I don't know. I'm curious to know, actually. So I continue. What he does is collect a group of like-minded musicians together in Wessex Studios in North London, where he can record the perspective of instruments in physical distance rather than off the board. And then each player, there are 18 on Laughing Stock, if you can see it. Okay, this is Laughing Stock, gets to improvise around a basic theme as he or she feels it. Imperatively, this process is continued over a long period of time. Laughing Stock took a year until Hollis feels each player has expressed their character and refined their contribution to the purest, most truthful essence. Only then is the record complete. It's never a thing with any of these albums of knowing what they are doing to sound like. It's more like knowing the kind of feel you want. It's exactly as what I'm doing in my paintings. I know what I want to do, but I never know how the result will be. The one kind of starting point we had this time was just the thing of everyone working in their own little time zone. Really, it's just going back to one of a couple of things. Either the jazz ethic or, an album like Tagomago by Can. I recommend this, it's excellent. So an album like Tagomago by Can, where the drummer locked in and off, he went and people reacted at certain point along the way. It's arranged spontaneity, that's exactly what it is. So here he is explaining exactly how he worked on Laughing Stock. I think it's a good method because actually he kept only the best the best according to him. I mean the best according to what he wanted for his albums. Some musicians I heard were upset because they considered that not the best was kept, but actually what according to them was the worst. But Marcolis has another point of view. What he was searching for, it was the spontaneity, something which has some character, I mean something maybe different, something which reflects maybe the personality of the musician, or something which fitted the best with the kind of music he wanted to do. So it's really a matter of point of view, but if you listen to Laughing Stock, you will understand why he did it like that. I'm not doing advertising for Marcolis or Talk Talk or for Laughing Stock. It's just an album that I love. I adore this album. It's probably one of the albums that I love the most in the world, and it's not little to say it because there are a lot of music that I love. But it's a kind of album, you listen to it, you think, oh, it's not bad, and more you listen to it, more you love it. And especially After the Flood, that is my favorite one. I can tell you, I can listen to it the whole day. I already did it one day in repeat, again and again and again and again. Of course, you're not supposed to listen to this album while doing something else. Of course, I couldn't stop working and doing nothing, but I can tell you that there is something magic. I actually made a video about After the Flood, so magic I think it is. So I really recommend this album to you, really. Just because I love it, I don't receive money for that. If I was receiving money for that, I spoke so much about this album, I would be rich already, Oh yeah, the first time I heard the record was at a dinner given for retailers by the record company at the New Serpentine Gallery. It was an embarrassingly desperate attempt over cocktails to convince store owners that they should stock a record which the company was trying to infer stood for quality over likely quantity of sales. Nobody knew where to look as Hollis' muted blues conventional purposely disintegrated into shivering feedback. A similar farce was apparently held in a Paris planetarium. Hollis attended both playbacks and survived. He says the Paris one wasn't too bad because when the light went out, it was close to the perfect way to listen to his music. I believe that. And I'm not surprised. French people are completely in the mood for this kind of music. I'm French, so you see. With our eyes closed, watching your own mind movies. He didn't stick around in London, though. He had no desire to see people's reaction. He says he's proud of the record, and seeing as it wasn't made for other people, their opinions don't bother him. So obviously he made, I think the first album he made for himself is Spirit of Eden, which is a true marvel, and Laughing Stock is I would say in the same, not in the same style, but in the same spirit, I would say. And it's a marvel too. So obviously what he likes, he has very good taste, you know. If he likes and if he's very happy with what he has done, it means that he has very good taste because it's really good. So, and what people think about it, maybe some people there didn't understand, but maybe some people loved it. The first time that I listened to Spirit, I think I listened to Laughing Stock before Spirit of Eden, but the first time I listened to Laughing Stock, I was like, whoa. And the first time I listened to Spirit of Eden, but I already knew that it was probably good. I was Spirit of Eden, I was like, I was under shock because it was like if he saw God, you know. I really felt the religious feeling, and especially in Spirit of Eden, also a little in Laughing Stock, but more in Spirit of Eden. And it really stunned me, but stunned me by a good way, you know. So, you know, the people who react saying, I don't like it, I don't understand, well, it doesn't mean that they are right. It's not because something is not commercial that it's bad. It's a commercial is not a guarantee of quality. I don't understand that. You have very bad commercials. For things to endure, they need to be in their most pure form, says Hollis. I mean, it wears on you if you're hearing all this echo or something all the time. You just thin. What he's saying basically is less is more, and especially avoiding all the effects on the music. Let's just listen to the music and that's it. Hollis is phobic about passive listening. He hates the notion that we don't choose what we hear the way we choose what we read or what we eat. It bothers him that we have been lulled into treating music as mere entertainment, at most a diversion, at least mere background sound. He sees music as a means to spiritual enlightenment, something to enrich the soul. Yeah, because he's against the idea of having the music as a background music. He thinks that we must listen to the music and that's it. I must admit that I don't do that enough. However, sometimes I'm doing stuff and I can't listen to music in the same time because my attention is going to go to the music and not to what I'm doing. And unfortunately, sometimes what I'm doing, I have to do it. So if I play some music, I'm not going to do it. So the result of that is that I don't listen to music enough, not enough according to me. I don't know, how do you listen to music? As a background music, or do you sit and listen to it? All what I can say is that Spirit of Eden as Laughingstock deserve to be listened to, and only that, and especially the Mark Hollis solo album. This one you can listen to it by doing something else. That's impossible. You really have to sit and listen to it, or to lie down on your bed if you want. It's even better. Ideally, that's the way it should be, that's for sure. At the end of the day, the greatest music, if you look to singing, must be gospel. It can't be anything other, because it's just from the heart. So we go back again to the feeling and the heart. It seems that in this article he's talking about all the videos that I made, because that are subjects which interest me. That's probably, the fact that his music comes from the heart, that he's expressing some love in his music. It's probably the main reason why it makes me paint. And I've been talking about that a lot on my videos. I don't find that in a lot of music, I listen to a lot of things, and so far I can say that the only music where I can feel that is the Talk Talk music, and there was the lyrics, the poetry written by Jim Morrison, which didn't mean much for me, because I was not always understanding the feeling he had when Jim Morrison was writing his poetry, but I was feeling that there was something there. So I would say it's the two only things so far which made me paint, the inspiration coming from another form of art to my art. It's very particular, I would say. And obviously he's talking about that all over, everywhere. Every time I find an interview, it comes back. So it means that it's a very important factor in his work. So obviously it means that there is something that I got. It seems so. I'm flattering myself. Okay, so it's just about virtue. When I read that, I thought about virtue. What the virtue has to do here? It's just about virtue, really, just about character. It's all it is. I can't think of any other way of being able to sing a lyric and actually sing it and feel it, unless I believe in what I'm singing about. So that is sincerity, That goes back to the gospel thing. I'm not saying all lyrics have to be about religion, but in a way there must be that kind of thing in it. Well, what is there to sing about? God, sex, and death. That's all. Yeah, well, I've certainly picked up on two of the three. So according to you, which two of the three he picked up on? I would say God and death. Death in Tomorrow Started, it's absolutely obvious to me. God in Spirit of Eden, and also in Laughingstock, but I can feel some of that in other albums, Color of Spring, even before, even before. Yes, it's you, God only knows. I don't think he's talking about sex in his songs. I don't think so. I'm not sure. I'm thinking maybe of one song, but I'm not sure. I tell Hollis that some of the bands I've spoken to cite, I don't know if we say cite or cite, Talk Talk as an inspiration, which he thinks is great. Most of them, though, will never be as brave or suicidal enough to abandon the more accepted avenues and plunge themselves into glorious and self-indulgence the way he has. The fact is that he took huge risk by doing Spirit of Eden and then Laughingstock. because he knew that it wouldn't be commercial and that it could be a problem with the record company. Anyway, I think I think the record company was unhappy with Spirit of Eden, EMI, but it's their fault because they let Marcolis record his album as he wanted without coming with a unlimited budget. He was allowed to do whatever he wanted. Nobody was checking on them. And then they were surprised, but they gave the money saying you do whatever you want as you want. Okay, that's what he did. So they can just be mad at themselves. I mean, it's their fault. I'm surprised that nobody checked on how the money was spent or what they were doing. It doesn't seem very professional to me. The less you compromise, the less you're prepared to compromise, he laughs. I look upon us as being extremely fortunate that we can work absolutely the way we wish. That must surely be the ideal for everyone. Yeah, actually, I'm not sure that it exists a lot. When I finished Spirit of Eden, there was a long period where I never thought I would have made another record because I just didn't know where to go or anything. It's never anything I can predict. It's like I say I'm in a 4-album deal and there's no way of knowing that I can ever do 4 albums. I do not know. The only thing that I can ever hope is that I would never make an album for the wrong reasons and just stay with that ethic. I can't see the point of making an album for the sake of it. There's nothing that I would get from it. So that's probably why we have nothing now. Probably he doesn't see the point of doing a new album, and so we get nothing. When a band signs a contract with a record company, if they sign for 4 albums, they have to deliver 4 albums because they are string attached and they are supposed to do their job. Of course, I think that doing an album for the sake of doing an album is not a good idea. But sometimes I think in life when you are forced to do the things, sometimes they turn out better. For myself, every time I did something that I didn't especially want to do and which was forced on me, well, sometimes it sucks, yes, but sometimes it gives a very unexpected result and it's very surprising, and sometimes it gives me opportunities that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't done it. It's true that less we compromise, less we are ready to compromise. But sometimes I think that it's good not to be in our comfort zone, I would say, because it can give unexpected results. Sometimes an artist works more when he's forced to do so, because when he's not forced, maybe there is a creation or something that he's not going to do because he doesn't need to. You know what? I'm not completely for the idea of the total freedom in art. Maybe because I never had a total freedom in my art, maybe. But I realized that I was working much more when I had some other work to do, when my time was limited, than when I have all the time possible. It doesn't mean that I'm going to work more, or it doesn't mean automatically that I'm going to work. But I'm not as talented as Marcolis. Marcolis, obviously, when he wants to do something, he does it and he goes for it and he succeeds in it. So I would say that maybe it depends on the artists and their way of working. Maybe I'm lazy and I do the things only when I'm forced to do them. I don't know. It's possible. I can talk only for myself. I can't decide for everybody, of course. I'm not the one who makes the rules. Anyway, why I wanted to talk about this article, because it shows a form of ethic, of sincerity. There is a form of, we say that, truth. Yes, there is a form of truth, of honesty. There is a form of integrity shown in this article that I especially liked. That's why I wanted to read that to you. I'm always curious to know what you think about all this. Do you think that the integrity in this kind of job still exists? I'm wondering. You see what I found in the street? I was walking the other day and I found this. It's the Who. I never saw a badge like that. I never had one. And I found that and I was so glad, because I like the Who a lot too. And I even painted a lot about Keith Moon. So it was completely a fluke, you know. I'm not saying, oh, that is a sign coming from the sky. For me, it happened completely randomly, but you can't imagine how happy I was to find something like that, which is ridiculous. But anyway, I don't need a lot to be happy. Okay, I'm going to see you the next time. I still have videos to post, like my artwork and visit in a museum and more stuff. It will come little by little. I'm sorry if I'm not fast enough on everything, including my painting. It's because I have so much work to do that I'm glad to be able to maintain my videos in spite of my work. It's all what I can say. I see you very soon, and please give a thumb up if you liked my video. If you want, you can subscribe, then you will know every time I release a video. And if you want to comment, or if you don't agree with something, please comment. I'm always very pleased to read your comments, and I usually answer as quickly as possible. Even if I have some work, I find the time to answer. Okay, see you soon. Bye bye.